alignment of the private sector plans and the public sector's plans, and to try and get respect and trust between the parties. And the private sector does like predictability. If they're going to do a 15-year project, they do want some predictability. We were hearing in Itagwini 2 weeks ago how many developers are frustrated because land invasions happen before they can develop. And that's just one of many other challenges that developers face. So we need to work with the private sector. But also you can't not expect invasions if there's no land being opened up in the area, and we'll come to that now. This was an exercise done in another district municipality just up the road, more towards Polokwane, about 2 months ago. These were the kinds of issues. It's a bit small to read. Informal land occupation, the complexity of types of land tenure, because it was also quite dominated by mining. And this was a workshop with people in the mines, people in the municipality, people in communities, councillors were all in this workshop. And they were talking about 2 locuses of planning and intervention. Addressing of historic injustices, and then you get the housing people who talk about the right to housing, but we, as housing people, we sometimes don't adequately explain that we are part of land reform, that we are part of putting right the past. And we sometimes a bit slow in commending the importance of a housing land program to the people who traditionally talk about rural land reform. And I think we need to, that was raised by this panel. I'm not going to go too much detail. I think you might get this in the pack afterwards, but the Minister Kubai 2 weeks ago in Itagwini talked about, this was her closing speech after 2 days of different working commissions. And she said, availability of land needs urgent attention. We need to that we could be using if it does get adopted at a national level. So especially the Housing Development Agency has a lot of the tools and thinking, decision-making support and direct support that's needed for land development. So don't forget the HDA as one of the key players in the land sector. Okay, what's the outcome we want to achieve? We talk about spatial transformation. We did some work for Salga 2 years ago on how do you measure spatial transformation and what kind of neighborhoods do we want. So we talked just now about who are the architects of our new neighborhoods, and that is in our control. And basically, when you look at this system, this urban system, you've got your neighborhoods. You want those neighborhoods to be vibrant places where it's safe to live and play and work now, because we work even more at home than we used to. So neighborhoods themselves to be designed and structured with all of the human settlement elements. Way into an informal settlement. So municipalities have to think about how do they outperform the informal sector, which is supplying land. We need to be opening up service land for the future, and obviously not just for the backlog, but also for future growth. And I know there's a lot of fear around if we open up too much land, then we'll attract even more people. So it's a difficult thing to do, but I think people come for the perceived opportunities. And having a good municipality, as in this one, it does also attract people, but we should have service land coming into the market. The capable municipality, a greater private sector investment, and greater alignment between public and private plans in terms of investment priorities. So I think those are in my opinion, and in the work we've done, those are some of the key things that we want to achieve. So yeah, one of the main challenges is to bring these different urban land actors around the new stream of land that's coming into the market, and to do all of the necessary foundational work to get that to happen. So lastly, how can we start to think about this? It's complicated, it's long-term, it sometimes it feels very overwhelming. As a researcher, obviously we would urge evidence-based planning. Know your situation, plan well, get good planners, get good engineers to help you, get good get good NGOs as partners to work. If you're working with land release and expecting the people's housing process to then help, and the private sector to help with building housing, the role of NGOs is very important as an interface somewhere between municipalities and material suppliers and small contractors in the building process. So all of those actors are very important. Urban land development has a set of foundations. Your municipal finance, getting your rates, your role of properties up to date, making sure that new residential areas are coming on stream to pay property tax. I mean, that remains a big part of municipal finances. I won't go through all of these, but yeah, property taxation, land administration, having cadastres and deed registers up to date, land use management, making sure those are up to date, And I'm mentioning these, but we're working with municipalities on all of these elements to get these in place, because especially smaller municipalities are very thin on the ground in terms of planners and people to help with these aspects. And it's real. These are real things that need to undergird what's going on, and that will help with urban land development. Right, just lastly then, just a framework. Now this, I'm going to refer you to other work that's done, but yeah, firstly just understanding what's your current land supply. Like we've said, how much does the state own in your municipal jurisdiction? What part of the state owns it? What is usable? What is vacant? What could be transferred for residential use? But also understand your market. Because if you're trying to attract the private sector, do you have a vibrant property market? Or are you in a very slow property market? And these things go through cycles. So when you're doing a development in a slow market, you'll be doing it in a certain way. If there's big gains to be had in a very buoyant property market, you can get more private sector investment. So part of it is understanding that, but it's even understanding the rent. What rents are people paying? Even